My parents blew $80,000 on my half-brother's flashy wedding but didn't show up to mine, said marrying a janitor was beneath them. Mom told me, we don't attend loser events. I smiled and sent her a photo of my husband. Seconds later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I guess if I had to start somewhere, it would be in that tiny town in Texas, where life moved slow and dreams got stuck somewhere between paychecks and old promises. My name's Nina. I'm 27 now, but back then, I was just a little girl with a big imagination and parents who were trying to play house before they even figured out how to be adults. My mom, Monica, and my dad, Ray, got married right after high school. They were young, in love, and completely unprepared for real life. Dad worked long hours fixing cars at a local garage. He'd come home with grease under his nails, a tired smile on his face, and somehow still had the energy to tuck me in and ask about my day. Mom, though, she wanted more. She always talked about dreams and fancy things, like marble countertops and Louis Vuitton bags. Dreams that didn't fit in our little two-bedroom rental with a leaky roof and a broken heater. By the time I turned 5, it was clear those dreams didn't include my dad anymore. I still remember the day she packed up our things while Dad was at work. I thought we were going on a vacation. Instead, we moved in with Charles, this man who drove a sleek black Porsche and had a giant house with white columns and a fountain in front like it was ripped from a movie. I didn't even know people in our town had fountains. Charles was flashy. He wore gold watches, had walls covered with certificates and awards I didn't understand, and treated me like a doll at first. Gave me new toys, let me spin in his office chair, and even smiled when I called him Mr. Charles. I didn't understand then that it was all for show. Mom changed overnight. Her clothes got tighter, her nails longer, her voice sharper. And I became the leftover. One night, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. I was supposed to be asleep, but I was curled up on the hallway carpet, listening. She's too much like Ray, my mom said, her voice clipped. Always asking questions. Always watching me like he used to. Charles just grunted. Then teach her not to. From then on, the warmth disappeared. Mom rarely looked at me without that look, like I was a mistake she was trying to erase. It got worse when Evan was born. My half-brother. The prince of the palace. When Evan came into the world, so did new rules. I was 9 when they moved me into the tiny utility room under the stairs. Mom called it the cozy corner. It was just enough space for a twin bed and a plastic drawer set. Evan got my old room, with its windows and closet and soft carpet. I didn't argue. I already knew it wouldn't matter. Every picture in the living room had Evan's face on it. Every time we had guests, it was Evan did this and Evan said that. I was invisible. Even when I brought home a first-place ribbon from the school science fair, all Mom said was, "Cute. Now go clean up the kitchen." I used to sneak phone calls to Dad. He still lived in the same neighborhood, in a house that smelled like motor oil and home-cooked meals. His voice was always the same, steady, kind, with that hint of concern. "You okay, kiddo?"
"Yeah, Dad."
"I'm good." He never pushed. He just listened. That meant everything. When I turned 14, Monica sat me down one evening while Evan was bouncing around the couch behind her, laughing like nothing in the world could ever go wrong for him. "Nina," she said, her eyes cold, "we think it's best if you go live with your father now. You're a teenager and, well, teenagers are expensive." I stared at her. "You're serious?" "It's better for everyone," she added, waving a hand like she was clearing dust. So that was that. I packed my things into 2 duffel bags. Charles didn't even say goodbye. Evan hugged me but looked confused, like I was going away to summer camp. "And Mom?" She handed me a folded paper with Ray's address and said, "Try not to cause trouble." Ray opened the door with wide eyes and open arms. The house was small, smelled like old wood and lemon cleaner, but when he hugged me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, safe. "I got your room ready," he said, smiling. "It's not much, but it's yours." It was the size of a storage closet, and the mattress was worn, but it was the first time in years I had a door I could close and no one would knock unless they really wanted to talk. Life with Dad wasn't easy. We didn't have a lot. I went to a public school with peeling paint on the lockers and books held together with tape. I wore secondhand clothes and learned how to do my homework at the kitchen table with the sound of car engines from outside the window. But Ray, he made me believe I could do anything. He'd look over my shoulder at my drawings or reports and say, "You've got fire in you, Nina. Just don't let the world put it out." I didn't. I studied like my life depended on it. I stayed up late, read everything I could, and when the school counselor told me about a local scholarship worth $12,000, I put my entire soul into getting it. And I did. When I got that acceptance letter, I ran all the way home, burst into the garage where Dad was elbow deep in a dusty engine, and waved it in the air. "I got it," I shouted. "I'm going to college." Dad laughed, pulled off his gloves, and gave me the tightest hug. "That's my girl." I left town with his old army duffel bag, a folder of documents, and a head full of dreams. I didn't look back. But life has a way of dragging the past into the present, and mine was just getting ready to knock on my door again. College was a different world. I still remember stepping onto campus in San Marcos, Texas, surrounded by students with sleek backpacks and shiny new laptops. I felt small at first, carrying Dad's worn-out duffel bag and a cracked secondhand phone, but I reminded myself I'd earned my place here. The scholarship covered tuition, and I worked part-time at a local bookstore to help with rent and groceries. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Every decision, every step forward, I owned it. For the first time in years, I had space to breathe. No one compared me to Evan. No one told me I wasn't enough. I focused on my classes and my design projects, staying up late drawing room layouts and creating mood boards while my roommate partied across the hall. I didn't care. I was building something that had nothing to do with Monica or Charles or the life I'd left behind. After graduation, I moved to Austin and started working as an assistant to a home remodeler. The pay was low, but I learned fast, took freelance gigs on the side, and slowly started building my own client list. I rented a small studio apartment and treated myself to real coffee every morning. That was my little luxury. It was during one of those early mornings, sitting at a sidewalk cafe sketching plans for a client, that I met Leo. He was working at the place, smiling, cracking jokes, bringing people their orders with this calm, easygoing energy. He noticed me coming in almost every day and started remembering my order: black coffee, splash of oat milk, cinnamon on top. One morning he said, "You ever think about designing this place? Could use your touch." I raised an eyebrow. "You know I'm a designer?" "You've been sketching chairs and tables for weeks," he grinned. "I figured it out." We laughed. That's how it started. Coffee and jokes turned into walks after his shifts, late night talks about dreams, and eventually falling in love. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet kind that sneaks up on you and feels safe. When I told Monica about Leo, she didn't even try to hide her judgment. I had called her for the first time in years, thinking maybe time had softened her. Instead, she laughed, actually laughed. "A waiter," she said with a sharp breath. "You always had a thing for losers, Nina. Just like your father." I should have hung up, but I didn't. I let her words sit there, burning in my ear like poison. Then I said quietly, "Leo's worth more than all your money ever gave you." And I meant it. Leo eventually opened his own Tex-Mex restaurant using a small loan and endless hustle. I helped design the space on a tight budget, and within a year, his food had locals lining up down the block. That one spot turned into 3, then 5. Suddenly, the man they once mocked became a success story and my biggest cheerleader. We got engaged on a quiet night in our kitchen, over takeout and candlelight. It wasn't flashy, but it was perfect. Dad was over the moon. Monica didn't even reply to the wedding invitation. Everything was going smoothly until one day my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in years: Monica. She called to say Evan had been accepted into a college in Austin and needed a place to stay. "You have a guest room, don't you?" she asked like it was a fact, not a request. I hesitated. My gut told me no. But part of me, that old wound that still wanted her approval, said yes. Evan showed up with 2 rolling suitcases, a designer backpack, and an attitude bigger than our apartment. He walked in like he owned the place, complimented the decor without asking if I did it, and smiled too long at Leo. At first, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I told myself he was just adjusting. But within days, he was out every night partying, posting selfies with captions like crashing in Austin with my sis. #VIPLife. He'd sleep in until noon and then complain about the noise from our blender when Leo made smoothies. One night, I came home to find him leaning a little too close to Leo, laughing at something he said while brushing crumbs off his shirt. I froze. Later that night, I confronted Evan in the hallway. "What are you doing?" He blinked at me, smug. "What do you mean?" "With Leo. You're acting weird." He shrugged. "Can I help it if people like me?" That was it. I told him to pack his bags. He acted shocked, called me uptight. But I didn't care. When Monica found out, she lost it. Called me screaming, said I was jealous of Evan, of his charm, his future. "You've always hated him, Nina. He's everything you're not." I nearly laughed. Spoiled? Selfish? Lost. I hung up before she could answer. A few months later, I got a text from a mutual contact. "Did you hear? Evan dropped out. He's marrying some Instagram model. Family's freaking out." I didn't respond. I'd finally learned that not everything deserved my reaction. Leo and I moved forward with our wedding plans. We kept it small, just close friends, Dad, a few old college pals. Monica and Charles weren't invited. Neither was Evan. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just protecting my peace. The wedding day was everything I wanted. We said our vows under a simple arch draped with white flowers in the backyard of Leo's first restaurant. Dad walked me down the aisle, his eyes glassy with tears. No champagne fountains, no famous guests, no golden arches, just love, real and raw. We danced under string lights, ate good food, and laughed until midnight. I remember looking at Leo, thinking, this is my real beginning. But happy endings don't always mean the past stays buried. Because just when I thought that chapter of my life was closed, my phone rang again. And the voice on the other end? It shook everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the phone rang. I was sitting on the couch, flipping through baby-named books with Leo's feet in my lap, both of us exhausted but happy. We'd just come back from a doctor's appointment. Our baby was healthy, and we had seen the little heart flicker on the screen. It felt like our world was finally steady, like we'd carved out something beautiful from all the broken pieces. Then I saw the name flash on my phone, Mom. I should have ignored it. I really should have. But I picked up. "Nina." Her voice came through sharp, rushed, and high-pitched. "You have to help us. We're desperate." I sat up slowly, my heart immediately tightening. "What's going on?" "It's all gone. Charles's business collapsed. We had to sell the house. Evan's marriage is a disaster. His husband's suing him for money he spent, and we've got nothing left. We're coming to stay with you." Just like that. No question. No warning. A declaration. I blinked, stunned. "Wait, you're coming here?" "Yes," she said, like it was obvious. "You have a house. Space. Stability. It's time you gave back." I looked at Leo across the room. He had paused the TV and was watching me, concern rising on his face. I covered the speaker. "She says they lost everything. They want to stay with us." His eyebrows shot up, but he didn't say anything, just waited for my answer. I brought the phone back to my ear. "No, Mom. You can't just decide to move in. That's not how this works." Her voice sharpened like broken glass. "Don't be ridiculous. You owe us. After everything we did for you, after raising you." I let out a small, bitter laugh. "Raising me? You kicked me out at 14. "Oh, please," she snapped. "You got your precious little scholarship and ran off. You've always acted like a victim. And you've always acted like I was disposable," I said, my voice tight now. "You chose money over love. And now that you're broke, you think I'll just open my arms?" There was silence for a moment. Then, icily, she said, "You're selfish. You always have been. I should have left you with your father from the start." I took a deep breath. "You're right. You should have." And I hung up. I sat there for a long time after that, staring at my phone. It felt heavy in my hand, like it still held all the weight of years I spent trying to be good enough for her. Leo came and sat beside me, his hand warm on my back. "You okay?" "I think I'm finally free," I whispered. But of course, it wasn't over. A few days later, we got a letter, handwritten, which surprised me. Monica had never been the type to put in effort unless it served her. It read, "If you don't help us, I'll take legal action. I'm your mother, Nina, and I'm not above doing what's necessary to get what I deserve." Leo read it out loud, and then tore it in half. What exactly does she think she's going to take? Emotional damage? And used sympathy? I smiled weakly, but my chest ached. As much as I tried to shut it out, there was still a part of me that hurt. That younger version of me who sat in her little utility room wondering why she wasn't enough. Why her mother stopped loving her. I called Dad that night. He listened, quiet as always, then sighed. "She's just mad the world finally saw her for who she really is." I never wanted it to come to this," I said. "I know. But you did the right thing. You've built something real, Nina. You don't owe them a thing." We didn't hear from them for a while after that. I figured they'd found someone else to sponge off. But one morning, a neighbor mentioned seeing a moving truck at our street. My heart sank. I peeked through the blinds, half expecting to see Monica's sleek car, or what was left of their once luxurious life. But it was someone else. False alarm. But it reminded me of something Leo had said when we were dating. Sometimes people don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they lost everything else. He was right. Evan posted a dramatic video a week later. Shirt unbuttoned, eyes red, saying things like, "Real friends don't turn their backs on you when you're down, and family should stick together." I didn't comment. I didn't need to defend myself. I'd finally learned that walking away doesn't make you cruel. It means you've finally learned what you deserve. Meanwhile, life went on. Leo's restaurants continued to thrive, and I started working fewer hours, focusing on preparing the nursery. We painted the walls a soft sage green. I folded tiny clothes with careful hands, humming under my breath. Every movement felt like healing. Every quiet evening with Leo felt like safety, like home. And then, one ordinary afternoon, someone knocked on the door. Not the doorbell. Just a knock. Leo looked at me, confused. "You expecting anyone?" I shook my head. "We weren't." He opened it and I heard him say, "Can I help you?" Then I heard a voice I hadn't heard in years. Low. Cautious. "Hey. Is Nina here?" My heart skipped. I stood up slowly, walking into the front hallway. It was Evan. Alone. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair messy, and for the first time in his life, he looked unsure of himself. "Nina," he said, barely meeting my eyes. I didn't know where else to go. I stared at him, not with anger, not even hate, just silence. And that's when I realized the past wasn't done with me yet. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Evan stood there on the porch, fidgeting with his phone, eyes darting from the ground to the doorway. He wasn't wearing his usual polished, overconfident grin. There were dark circles under his eyes, and he looked thinner, smaller, like life had finally caught up with him. "I didn't come here to cause problems," he said quickly, as if he could feel me closing the door in my mind. "I'm not asking for a place to stay. I needed to say something." Leo stood nearby, watching with a quiet alertness. I nodded once and stepped aside. "Come in." Evan walked in slowly, glancing around the house like he couldn't believe it was real. I didn't offer him a seat. He stood in the middle of the living room like a lost boy, hands in his pockets. "I screwed up," he began, voice low. "I know that. I thought I had it all figured out, thought I was untouchable. Then the influencer marriage thing blew up, my student loans kicked in, Mom and Charles lost everything, and I've been couch hopping for 2 months." I said nothing, arms crossed. He looked up at me, guilt clear on his face. "I was awful to you, Nina. Growing up, I didn't get it. I just thought you were moody or distant. But now, seeing how Mom talks about you, how she used you, I see it. She's still trying to play queen, even though there's no kingdom left." I swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. You flirted with my fiancé in my own home, Evan. You made me feel unsafe in my space. I know, he said, nodding quickly. That was stupid. I was stupid. I guess I thought I could charm my way through everything like I always had. But I lost everything too. I just didn't realize until it was gone. Leo finally stepped forward. So, why are you really here? Evan's voice cracked. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not just for crashing your life, but for not seeing you back then. I was Mom's golden child, and I let her paint you as the bitter one. But she never lifted a finger for me unless it made her look good. You were right. She doesn't know what love is. A silence settled over the room. I didn't feel angry anymore, just tired. Evan looked older than 21. He looked like someone who'd had the rug pulled out from under him and was still falling. I appreciate the apology, I said finally. But it doesn't mean I can forget everything. I'm not asking you to, he replied quickly. I just wanted to take responsibility for once. We talked a little longer. Nothing dramatic. No big emotional breakthrough. But I could tell he was genuinely trying. And when he left, he didn't ask for money, or shelter, or help. He just said, "Congratulations, by the way. Leo told me you're expecting. You'll be a great mom." The door closed behind him, and I stood there for a minute, heart thudding, trying to process what just happened. Leo came up beside me. You okay? Yeah, I said softly. I think I am. Weeks passed. Life slowly fell back into rhythm. We finished the nursery. I started reading baby books again. Dad visited more often, always bringing something: diapers, little socks, parenting magazines from the 90s. He was excited in the purest way. And Monica? She never called again. But I heard through a friend of a friend that she and Charles moved into a rented apartment in Houston. Smaller than what she was used to. She was trying to get into some kind of luxury consulting job, but wasn't having much luck. Apparently, people didn't want tips from someone whose empire had crumbled. There was no revenge in it for me. No triumph. Just peace. One warm Saturday afternoon, I sat on the porch with Dad. Leo was inside putting together the baby swing. The air smelled like jasmine and grilled onions. Dad took a sip of his iced tea and said, "You know, Nina, you've done all right." I smiled. Yeah. Took a while, but I got there. You've got more heart than anyone I know. You didn't let them break you. I looked out at the yard, the soft breeze ruffling the wind chimes. They tried. But they failed, he said, clinking his glass against mine. Later that night, Leo and I lay in bed, the room lit by a soft bedside lamp. My hand rested on my belly, where our baby kicked gently, like a secret knock from inside. Do you think I'll be a good mom? I asked quietly. Leo turned toward me, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You already are. You protected this home, this life. You turned pain into something beautiful. That's more than most people ever manage. I closed my eyes, letting his words settle. Not as praise, but as truth. Everything I had gone through, every moment of rejection, every cold word, every cruel comparison, it had shaped me. But it didn't define me. What defined me was this: I rose anyway. And now I had a family that loved me. A life that I built. A future that belonged to me. The past might have knocked, but I didn't open the door for it anymore. This was my new beginning. And I was finally home.